This meeting is being transcribed and summarized.
It's now 6 p.m. I'd like to call to order the Kent County Regional Planning Commission business meeting for April the 9th. And as customary, we always do the pledge, and I'll ask Mr. Servon if he'd lead us in the pledge, please. Good evening, sir, and I'll come to you now for a roll call and determination of quorum.
Mr. Peterman?
Present.
Mr. Servon?
Present.
Mrs. Carter?
Present.
Mr. Galvery?
Here.
Mr. Mills?
Present.
Mr. Davis?
Here.
Mr. Jester?
Here.
So you have 7 present. You do have a quorum.
You also have the revised agenda in front of you. If there's no other changes at all, I'll entertain a motion and a second to approve.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Call the commission.
Mr. Peterman?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Servon?
Yes to approve.
Mrs. Carter?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Galvery?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Mills?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Davis?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Jester?
Yes to approve.
So you have 7 yeas in favor of approving tonight's agenda.
Thank you very much. Now we're going to go down to the approval of the minutes for February the 12th, 2026. How come it says draft on here, sir? I don't think I've seen that before.
Because until they are approved and signed, they are draft.
Okay, it's just a little bit different way to present it. Okay, you've all had time to look at the minutes and read them. If there's no corrections at all, entertain a motion and a second to approve.
Make a motion to approve. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Call the commission.
Mr. Peterman?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Servon?
Yes to approve.
Mrs. Carter?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Galvery?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Mills?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Davis?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Jester?
Yes to approve.
So you have 7 yeas in favor of approving the minutes of February 12th.
Next on our agenda sheet, you can see what levy court did. And if you have any questions about that, you can contact staff. Seeing no old business, I'll get into the business for tonight's meeting. First on our agenda tonight is Delmarva Power and Light, request for conditional use approval for an electric station located inside the growth zone overlay district. I think they answered all of our questions and did a great presentation. So I'll turn it over to commissioners. Would somebody like to make a motion? Motion. Mr. Mills?
I move the Regional Planning Commission recommend conditional approval of application C-2602, an electrical subdivision located inside the growth zone overlay district. This is based on Exhibit A, staff recommendation report dated April the 2nd, 2026. Exhibit B, public hearing testimony dated April the 2nd, 2026, and the findings of the facts that A, the parcel is zoned IG General Industrial, in which 205-53 permits an electrical substation as a conditional use. B, the applicant shall comply with all staff and agency requirements as described in the staff recommendation report. C, the application complies with all conditions for the use.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Denise seconded. Sarah, call the commission.
Mr. Peterman,
Yes to approve.
Mr. Servon,
Yes to approve.
Mrs. Karcher,
Yes to approve.
Mr. Galvary,
Yes to approve.
Mr. Mills,
Yes to approve.
Mr. Davis,
Yes to approve.
Mr. Jester.
Yes to approve.
So you have 7 yeas in favor of recommending conditional approval of application C 2602.
Thank you all so much, and good luck with your project. Next on the agenda tonight, it's Barrett's Landing. It's a request for a major subdivision approval of a 244 single-family lot residential development located inside the Growth Zone Overlay District. I just customarily don't do this, but I'm going to ask the engineer for this project. Is Mr. Riemann here? He's not. Are you're going to represent him? Yes. So, were you sworn in last week? I was not. Okay, so I'll try to do the best I can. Huh? Okay, he can go ahead and swear. If you'll give us your name.
Sure.
and all.
It's, John Falkowski, with Becker Morgan Group, civil engineer, 309 South Governors Avenue, Dover, Delaware.
Mr. Falkowski, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
I think commissioners have a couple of questions, as I do here, but I'm going to turn the first question over. I think Mr. Mills has asked me about it. He would like to speak to you or ask some questions about what's on the you've turned over to us.
Yeah, and, the question I have in reference to the entrance going into the development, and I appreciate you putting in the exit entrance for construction equipment, separating them from where school was, but there's still a little issue. I talked to a contractor today in the Lake Forest District that goes right in this area. And we got the buses going in, but we need a place for them to turn around right there. Just today, for the kids that are going to be getting on the buses in the early stages of the project. Now, the reason for that is because if you go down the road here a little bit, Buffalo Road is just down a little ways. Any bus going into High Point Trailer Park, coming around on the you might say the east side of where the old Route 130, they have to unload on the door side. They cannot load. So in other words, if those buses loaded those kids, the way it's designed now, they've got to go past, take that entrance over to that service road that goes over to the road. Then they're coming up in front of the High Point. They cannot unload. And so that means they got to, if they load kids here, they've got to get turned around, go back to Buffalo Road. And like I say, I'm not against this development, but I think it could be redesigned a little bit better and safer. And on the beginning, because buses can't go in these developments until the second blacktop is finished on the road. So, you know, I'm suggesting that where those first two houses are, that it be widened or taken out and a horseshoe entrance put there. That's my concern about it, is just getting these kids on and off these buses. That's a narrow road there on Barris Chapel Road. Now, I don't know what Del Dot's going to do to widen it. Don't tell us anything in here except to say they're not going to do anything. But I'm just concerned about that right there. And I think we need to try to redesign that, because there's been other developments come up here that have done just exactly what we're talking about. Redesigning the entrance so a bus could go in and turn right there and come back out and go either way they need to go on the, in this case, on Barris Chapel Road.
Sure. No, that's a valid concern. One of the thoughts we had, the additional exhibit we provided with the green shaded areas, phase one, that was simply to show that we could get to the rear bus stop if needed as the community's built out in phase one. But the thought was, you'll see the stub roads for the vertical roads on the plan, and they're also within the green shaded area. The thought is that any one of those 4 stub roads would be used as a turnaround, and those are more than wide enough. They're about double the size that the fire department requires for a turnaround, and those could be used for the bus to turn in, back out, and basically make a 3-point turn and turn out. That's one option. I'm not saying that's the final option, but that was one thought. Another thought was exactly what you said, that where the 2 lots are in the front, that could maybe be used instead of the first model home, maybe up front that's a turnaround as well. So I think we have some options, but certainly want to get bus traffic off of Barrett's Chapel and be able to turn around safely within the subdivision, separate from the construction traffic.
So you will provide a place for the bus to go in right at the entrance, get turned around, and be able to come back out onto Barrett's Chapel Road.
Yes.
Or go up to one of these other streets and turn around. They will be finished on the beginning of this project.
Yes, those 4 stub roads you see that go off the top, we'll build the.
Could you possibly put your finger down there on, put the pointer, Mr. Mills, watch where he goes, he's talking about.
Zoom in too. Say, yep. So you've got one there. We would basically build that stub there long enough for a bus to come in, turn around, and leave. Or you could do it on these 2 lots. There's a couple different options, but these are 26-foot wide roads, certainly wide enough for a fire apparatus or a bus to turn around, and we'd make it long enough so that the bus could, get in fully, back out, and turn around. Thank you. And then as far as the road widening part of your question, we will be widening the road as part of our project to accommodate right turn lanes, left turn lanes, a bike lane, and a shoulder.
Is that okay, Mr. Mills?
Yes, I got it.
I think Mr. Davis had some quotes he wanted to say too.
I guess you probably received a copy of a letter by Arthur Adams, who I think is here this evening, who sent a great letter. Have you had a chance to read that?
Yes.
What are your thoughts about the ditch? Say, considered a blue line stream.
Yes. So we did request the waiver to basically put a culvert under the road where we have the one crossing. That is the only pipe we're planning on placing in the ditch that would potentially restrict drainage coming from your property down through that ditch. It will be certainly sized large enough for 100-year storm and plus. Right now it should be, there's actually a pipe lower downstream. There's a small farm culvert that was put in many years ago, I assume, for farm access. And that's why this pond exists that he referenced in his testimony last week. That pond exists because there is a downstream constraint on the discharge side of that pond, and that pipe is much smaller than any pipe we'd place under the road crossing. So anything we do will not restrict drainage from his property and further downstream. Any restriction is existing.
Okay, thank you. It looks like I'll probably end up voting for this, but I have to tell you, it looks like you're going to do a shoulder on Barrett's Chapel Road in front of your subdivision, right?
Correct.
The problem I'm having with that road, not just your property and development, and it's not your fault, but you can't even pull, if you have a flat tire, you cannot even pull off the road to change your tire, and it's a safety issue. Now, if they get lucky and break down in front of your place, that's fine. You got it taken care of. But I don't understand why we're letting all these developments go on Barrett's Chapel Road until the state comes out and fixes the entire road. I would think that every developer would certainly support that, because I was down there just the other day, and I just think it's terrible. I mean, you meet the code, so obviously you've answered Mr. Mills's question, and he's happy. So I'll be voting for it. But I'm not happy about voting for it because there's a lot of traffic on that road, and you've done your part as far as the shoulder, but it's about time that somebody wakes up before we have a lot of bad accidents down there. So thank you for the construction entrance, and thank you for correcting the problem with school buses. I appreciate that. Thank you.
No problem. And just as it relates
Thank you,
to
Mr. Davis.
if I can add to that, if you don't mind, we are widening our frontage, but the remainder of the roads, we're also paying into DelDOT's Transportation Improvement District. So that TID is actually, that will handle the rest of the roads that aren't widened. I understand it won't happen at day one, but the developers need to pay into that TID system for it to be operational, and then those funds will go directly to widening those roads.
Well, what's interesting about that road itself, talking about the entire road, is that Mr. Adams contacted DelDOT according to his letter, and you've read it. That's not even in the review process. And we continue letting development on that road. That road is not designed for that type of traffic. And somebody is going to get hurt on that road. I mean, I knew it because it's in our fire district, but I went down the other day, look at the whole thing. And nothing against what your company's doing, but somebody needs to wake up and look at the big picture and stop doing these little developments here and there. It's not good for public safety, but I thank you for your cooperation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. I think Mr. Galbraith's got a question.
Yeah, it's actually the staff and to you. If I understand you correctly, you've agreed to provide a bus turnaround in the area of the entrance or one of the spurs on the initial development phase of the project.
Correct.
So, Sarah, can we add that as an E?
I would certainly encourage you to add it as one of the conditions when you make the motion.
But would it be E? We only go to D, so I'm just.
Then, yes, it would be E.
That would be fine. Okay, thank you
Yes.
very much.
I have a question out on your road, being your typical section don't look very. When you upgrade the road out there with the shoulders and all, and you're, getting close to these people's houses, if they're already maintaining in front of their house and mowing the ditches, is your typical section going to be, and the taper going to be so that they can still maintain their ditches with riding mowers and all, as they are presently doing?
Yes, any area that will remain open drainage, like a ditch that you mentioned, that he currently maintains and mows, DelDOT will require that to be a 4-to-1, a 6-to-1 front slope and a 4-to-1 back slope. Those are both mowable slopes. In the case where we would not be able to meet those minimum grades, we would change it to a closed drainage system. So we would actually curb the frontage along that side of the road if we're that close, and collect the drainage another way so that you don't have unfavorable slopes.
I wanted to make sure of that because I know Mr. Adams had that, and there was a couple other questions about that too. But I really appreciate all you've done and what answers you've got tonight. I know why Mr. Riemann didn't come, so he wouldn't have to go to the mic tonight. That's why it was. So next time I see him, I guess I'll have to be.
He had a family engagement tonight. He would love to be here. But.
Does any other commissioners have any questions? Mr. Peterman?
I have a question on that Blue Line stream because you want a waiver to approve the allowing of existing borrow pit to be converted to stormwater infrastructure. And then my question is, you got it to where it's going to be. My question is, you got it that you want a 30-foot setback from the residential partial line and only a 35-foot setback from a residential dwelling. Have you talked to Denarec or the Corps of Engineers or to Soil Conservation? Do you have anything that's approved back? Because I don't see anything that.
Yes, I think Mr. Pardee handed a letter out to you last week, part of the packet. We did reach out to Kent Conservation District, and they sent a letter basically recommending approval of the waiver that they agreed. That was a suitable offset, and it was more than they require.
And how deep is that pond?
It varies. It's a very odd borrow pit shape. I'd say it's 6 to 8 feet deep right now. 6 to 8. I'd have to pull up the plan, but I believe it's about 6 to 8 foot deep, but it would be converted to a wet pond meeting conservation district's standards, and those would be about a 4 to 5 foot deep permanent pool with a
So
flat.
you don't fill part of it in.
If it's deeper than that, yes. So it would be about a 5 foot deep permanent pool. A flat safety bench we'll need to construct in it, and then about a 3 foot permanent pool.
And you said the soil conservation is okay with that
Yes, and I believe
setback?
we submitted a letter from them for the record. You should have that if Sarah hasn't provided.
Yes, you do have it.
Okay.
Okay, that's all my question is.
Thank you.
Are you good, Mr. Peterman?
No, but I'm finished.
You're good. Mr. Servon or Dee Dee, you got any questions? Everybody else satisfied for all the comments? Once again, I really thank you for coming back to the mic, because customarily I don't let anybody up, but I know I wanted to hear you tonight because we beat up on Mr. Reedman last week. Thanks again for your
Thank
comments.
you.
Seeing none, I'll turn it over to commissioners. Would somebody like to make a motion? Mr. Gavry?
I move that the Regional Planning Commission grant conditional approval of the application SL 2603, Barrett's Landing, a preliminary plan for a 244-lot, single-family residential subdivision located inside the Growth Zone Overlay District. This is based on Exhibit A, Staff Recommendation Report dated April 2nd, 2026. Exhibit B, Public Hearing Testimony dated April 2, 2026. And the findings of fact that A, the subject site is zoned AC, Agricultural Conservation, in which a single-family residential subdivision is permitted use. B, the application complies with the Kent County Comprehensive Plan, future land use map. C, the applicant agrees to incorporate recommendations 1 into the final plan and reconfigure the lots to be located outside of the wetland and blue line stream buffers. D, the applicant agrees to petition DelDOT to permit a secondary emergency access and provide an exhibit demonstrating where such entrance could be located. E, the applicant agrees to provide school bus turnaround area at the entrance and or road spurs along the first phase development area. Pursuant to Chapter 205 of the Kent County Code and pursuant to 9 Delaware C, subchapter 4802 and 4811, the Commission has reviewed the application, and furthermore, as part of this approval, the applicant shall comply with all staff and agency requirements and planning staff recommendations as described in the April 2nd, 2026 staff recommendations report, including but not limited to the following conditions. A, the waiver from subchapter 187-77.c and subchapter 187-77.d is granted to permit a roadway crossing at the southeastern portion of the site. B, the waivers from subchapter 187-77.d and 187-78.b2 are conditionally approved to permit the proposed walking trails, providing the trails are installed as a hard surface that meets ADA accessible requirements. C, the waiver from subchapter 187-77.d is approved to allow the existing borrow pit to be converted to stormwater infrastructure. D, the waiver from subchapter 187-53-1.4 is granted modified approval permitting the stormwater management ponds and basin to be set back 30 feet from the residential partial lines and 35 feet from the residential dwelling setback lines to allow for a buffer and areas for maintenance of the stormwater management ponds and basins. E, the waiver from subchapter 187-58.h2 requires linkaged streets is approved due to the wetlands and blue line streams surrounding the site and lack of available street stubs in the adjacent subdivision.
Second.
I have a motion. Do I, Dee Dee?
Second.
I have a second. Sarah, call the commission.
Mr. Peterman?
No.
Mr. Servon?
Yes to approve.
Mrs. Karcher?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Galbraith?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Mills?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Davis?
Yes to approve, including the bus situation.
Mr. Jester?
Yes to approve, including all the additional statements that we heard tonight for guaranteeing to get it done correctly.
So you have 6 yeas, 1 nay in favor of granting conditional approval of application SL 2603.
Good luck with your project. Next on our agenda tonight is Linbury Woods, request for final approval for 125 single-family lots located inside the growth zone overlay district. They were actually to us back on September the 12th, 2024, and we give approval of their final preliminary plans. They also got all their letters they were supposed to get, and I guess, Sarah, they addressed all the comments we had at the meeting.
It is a fully compliant plan.
Anybody else have any questions about it? If not, I'll entertain a motion. Denise?
I move, excuse me. I move that the Regional Planning Commission grant final approval of application SL 24-01, 125 single-family lot subdivision located inside the growth zone overlay district. The plan complies with all conditions of approval and all applicable letters of no objection to recordation have been submitted.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second.
Mr. Servon? Sarah, call the commission.
Mr. Peterman? Mr. Servon?
Yes, that's per the motion.
Mrs. Karcher?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Galbraith?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Mills?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Davis?
Yes to approve, promotion.
Mr. Jester?
Yes to approve.
So you have 7 yeas in favor of granting final plan approval of application SL 2401.
Thank you all, and good luck with your project. Next on our agenda tonight is Mad Clay Homes. It's actually plan number and title SLV 26-15 Mad Clay Homes LLC. It's 1.5061 acres located on the southeast corner of South DuPont Highway and Carpenter Bridge Road, north of Harrington. The owner applicant is Mad Clay Homes, 4469 Park Brown Road, Harrington, Delaware. Zoning district is BG and AR. Present use is vacant. Proposed use is an office building. Relation to the growth zone is inside. Levy court is a 6, Mr. Hertz. And I don't think, does anybody have any questions about this particular project or anything? If not, then I'll be looking towards a motion to either approve or whatever. And I think he actually asked for a waiver on the sidewalk also. Mr. Davis?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that the Regional Planning Commission approve the waivers from 187.60A and 187.60B requiring frontage and connecting sidewalks as a developer will instead pay the fee in lieu of the sidewalk installation Department of Transportation. So I agree that we give them the waiver.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Peterman made the second. Sarah, call the commission.
Mr. Peterman?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Servon?
I vote no.
Mrs. Karcher?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Galbraith?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Mills?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Davis?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Jester?
Yes to approve the waiver.
So you have 6 yeas, 1 nay in favor of granting the sidewalk waiver for application SLV 2615.
Thank you all, and once again, good luck with your project. Next, we have on our agenda public comment, and being all the public's leaving, I guess we won't have any comment. Any other commissioner comments? Denise?
Just in looking over that very heavy plan that I brought back, it really got me thinking of 2 decades ago when all we heard about, and that was back when I was able to actually go to conferences and all and learn even more, about smart growth. And I'm thinking, this is not what I was hearing about in the aughts. This is part of smart growth, but we're not achieving I guess, well, the ideal smart growth that I learned about back in the aughts. I'm just want your opinion on that.
That is a very broad question, and you're not defining your terms. Smart growth is a sales pitch. Sales pitch. It's what communities started using to better control growth and to sell the idea of controlling growth. They called it smart. I would suggest that Kent County, if you look at the development trends, right, not a whole lot happened until we started seeing a lot of speculation starting in 2002. And we started seeing a lot more subdivision. And that stopped immediately in 2009. Most of those didn't even get built. And then we're slowly seeing an uptick now. Nothing like we saw during the boom, but something more steady. But in that meantime, Kent County established a growth zone and said, this is where everything is going. And by and large, that's what we're seeing. It doesn't look like you would see in a town or a city because you've got a much more confined space. Our growth zone is very large. But with the growth zone and creating paths to make it easier to build in the growth zone, Levy Court also made it much more difficult to build outside. So I would say, so the philosophy of smart growth, I do think we're going in that direction.
Well, and I'll tell everyone else here what I've already said to Sarah. If they ever try to increase the growth zone, you can say adios to me.
Thank you, sir, for that explanation. Mr. Davis, you got something you want to say?
Well, yeah, I support the growth zone, but I think the county, this is my personal opinion, we're putting in 200, 300, 400 houses. In this particular case, that's not a safe road. And I don't know, we've created a good thing, but it's not a safe thing. And it's not the county's fault, it's the Department of Transportation. And they're not doing any long-range planning to encourage people to go these roads that are not safe. That road's not safe, I can tell you. There's no place to pull off. You get a flat tire, you're stuck on the road and somebody's going to get hit one of these days. It's going to happen. So I think we're moving too fast in this county. They're building these houses right and left. The school districts are overloaded. The fire departments can't handle it. The county needs more things like parks and recreation, and we're moving too fast. I just wish there'd be a way that we can accommodate the growth zone, but in a more meaningful way as far as all this development and the traffic issues that we're dealing with. That's my personal opinion. And I support the growth zone. It's a good concept. I'm not against it. But we keep putting houses and houses and houses, and we're not looking at the roads. And DelDOT ought to be doing a little bit more on their end, not the county. It's not the county's job. That's my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. And I think we've seen how DelDOT was one time when we tried to widen the roads and the developments, and they just thumbed their nose at us. So there's a lot of roads that's like that. I mean, we've approved developments on Peach, was that road that goes off of Irish Hill and goes north. I mean, we've approved developments there and all there. There's not enough room there for anything. So all that stuff. What I did want to mention, though, was in our email that we recently got, we actually have new software we're going to be using. And would Mark or you would you like to comment on it before? Because you're going to send us some extra information, correct?
We've sent you some reminders. The software we're using now through Granicus is an agenda management system. So you'll have access through the web to the agenda and all of the supporting documentation for each application. But to get you set up, we need to invite you individually to sign on to the system. We will send you a link to do that, but that link expires. So we don't just want to blast it out. We want to hear from you when you're ready to log on, and we'll invite you in. And then you can see everything ahead of time. And it will be available to you at the dais as well.
Yeah, because I had already tried it when you told me a couple months ago and you sent me a link. And what I like about it is if we have any notes we want to make, we can actually write notes on this software that we can look at for our meeting and let us remind instead of having to do it with pencil or something.
You can also, in the attachments that you pull up, you can notate on those as well for yourself.
But we can still print everything off. And you're still going to give us hard copies of the plots of all the housing developments, right? You're still
You'll
gonna send it?
absolutely still get hard copies of the plans. We do not expect you to read those on a normal laptop screen.
Good. I just wanted to verify that.
Yes.
So, you want to say something, Denise?
No, I have a question. So we're sent a link. Are we supposed to be on the phone with someone from here while we're working on
We
with the
just
link?
want to know that you're available to log on because the link will expire and we don't want to have to keep sending that. That's all.
Yeah, they send that to you, and then you set it up with your own passwords, more passwords for you to remember. So that's the way it is in this world. So, any other commissioners have any comments? Any other business before the commission? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Mr. Peter made motion, and Mr. Servon seconded. So call the commission.
Mr. Peterman,
To adjourn.
Mr. Servon,
Yes to adjourn.
Mrs. Karcher,
Yes, to adjourn.
Mr. Galvery,
Yes, to adjourn.
Mr. Mills,
Yes, to adjourn.
Mr. Davis,
Yes to adjourn.
Mr. Jester.
Yes to adjourn. Thank you all for coming.
Let me in.